Hello everyone. Today I am with Mr. Patrick Fencer. He is Dean of School of Arts and Sciences at Ahmedabad University. He is there since summer of 2017. He also holds an additional position as a professor of public understanding of humanities, advocating for their importance in well-rounded education. Professor French is an award-winning historian and biographer and has a PhD in South Asian Studies and an MA in English and American Literature, both from the University of Edinburgh. In 2016-18, he was a visiting fellow at the Center for Research in Arts, School Sciences and Humanities at Cambridge University, and in 2018 he was a Derek Brewer visiting fellow at Emmanuel College, Cambridge, where he is a member. So welcome Patrick sir on Collegedunia platform. It's a pleasure to have us here.
Thank you. I'm very happy to meet with Collegedunia and with your students remotely, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
So on that note, coming down to the questionnaire session, being the Dean of Ahmedabad University, what is your philosophy of leadership? How would you describe your leadership style?
So I would say that my philosophy of leadership is quite collegiate and quite collaborative. And there's also a very substantial part of communication within it because of the fact that when we began the school 3 years ago, it was very innovative and very new in that we had life sciences, mathematical and physical sciences faculty, but also the arts, humanities, social sciences, languages, and so on. And we were setting up courses, majors, a BA and BS program, where there was an expectation that the students were going to be able to learn in an interdisciplinary way, and where very high standard research was expected from the professors. A lot of what we were doing was different to most universities in India. And to that extent, in order to bring the professors with me on the journey, we had a very strong communication from the beginning of what we were trying to set up, what we were trying to build at Ahmedabad University.
That's very nice, sir. Coming down to the next question, how does the curriculum of Ahmedabad University ensure the best practice of the industry?
So our principle is that every student who comes into the university, whether they're doing engineering or they're doing a BBA, whether their interest is in finance and management, or whether they are part of the School of Arts and Sciences, they should be able to take a certain number of courses in a very different area. So somebody may be an engineer, but they might also want to study a course in early Indian philosophy. Somebody might be coming in order to do a major in history, and yet at the same time they might want to take a minor in an area of management. So the idea behind this is that the kind of education that we need in the 2020s is quite different to the sort of education that was around maybe one generation earlier, because so many industries are in the process of rapid evolution and change. The opportunity to do a narrow degree, graduate from university, go into a job and stay in the same industry or the same company for a lifetime is very much in the past. So we are assuming that the best students are going to be those who are able to evolve according to changing economic and social circumstances, but also address some of the direct threats to the world right now. Now that could be, for example, extreme climate change and the consequences for how people live in different places. It could be geopolitical disruption with one country or one part of the world going up and another going down. We're very much at a point of transformation. And so the logic behind this kind of education is that students from the get-go are encouraged to be versatile and to be dynamic in their learning.
That's very nice, sir. What are some of the biggest challenges you see, both for higher education in general and Ahmedabad University specifically?
So I would say that the biggest challenge for higher education in India right now, or one of the biggest challenges, is the fact that students are often encouraged to take degrees that may be more useful in the past than in the future. So the assumption is often, oh, you should go to medical college, you should consider doing accountancy or engineering, or you should consider doing something that is structured around an economic paradigm that makes less sense into the future. And very much connected with that is an emphasis on passing exams, where the ability to pass an exam is to an extent an exercise of memorization. So if you're good at memorizing a textbook or you're good at memorizing answers, there are certain exams which you can get through well. But again, society and technology has changed, so the ability to memorize is probably less useful now than it has been at any other time in human history. So, if I want to know pi to 2,000 decimal places, I can look it up on the internet. So a more creative kind of learning, where the way the university is set up is less focused on the reproduction of answers and more focused on critical engagement, thinking, questioning, seeing what lies behind a particular hypothesis or where it might lead. I think that in the longer term, for the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I think that's going to be a more productive kind of education. But in order to do that, there's quite a big mental shift involved, because a student and the student's family and parents may be thinking we should play safe, and the student should do the same as what somebody would have done in previous times, whereas we are very much encouraging them to be creative and innovative.
That's very nicely summed up, sir. Moving down to next question. The education system in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently. In your experience, what can inbound student can get from the studying at Ahmedabad University?
That's a really interesting question, because I grew up in England, in the UK. I went to university in Scotland. I've spent different periods of my life in different countries. I first came to Ahmedabad in, I think it must have been 1996 or 1997, on a research trip for a book I was writing called Liberty or Death, about the Indian freedom movement. And I then returned, 20, 30 years later in order to do this job. And so one of the things that's very nice for us at Ahmedabad University is that although almost all of the faculty come from India, a lot of them have been trained in different education systems. So I have colleagues in the School of Arts and Sciences who might have done their degrees, their PhD degrees in the US at Columbia or at Berkeley or University of Pennsylvania, or they might have done it in the UK at Cambridge or at Imperial University of London. Some colleagues who've been trained at good universities in the Netherlands at Leiden or in Canada at McGill. And so what we have done in building the School of Arts and Sciences is that we've tried to take the best of the Indian education system or higher education system, and then join it with the best of other educational systems in North America, in Europe, to an extent also from places like Singapore, China. So it's very much a kind of global idea of what higher education can become, where we're not wedded wholly to one system. We've got some elements of many different countries trying to create a 21st century model of what a university can be.
That's very nicely explained, sir. Any insights into how Ahmedabad University would be more welcoming to the students of different race or economic backgrounds?
So we're hoping in the future that we will have students coming in from outside India. We would certainly be welcoming to students who come in from the South Asian region, possibly coming in from West Asia or parts of Africa, where the sort of education we're able to give in a high quality private non-profit university like Ahmedabad means that there can be a really high development of educational standards for them. We're also hoping, and this is, for obvious reasons, been very much accelerated by the coronavirus pandemic, that we will increasingly have certificate programs or individual courses that can be taken by people remotely. And obviously, if you're going to be taking a course online, you could just as easily be doing it from Chennai as you could be doing it from Dubai or from New York or from London. So I think that's something that we're hoping to develop in the future. But yes, obviously at the moment, the overwhelming majority of our students are from India. But over time, we would like to have international students coming in, because I'm very much a big believer in the idea of the improvement that can stem from cultural interchange. When you have people coming together in an academic institution who come out of different social circumstances, perhaps they speak different languages or they have different social norms, I think you can have a very productive kind of interaction. And in terms of your question about people from disadvantaged social backgrounds, approximately 1 in 5 of our students at Ahmedabad University come from a first-time learner family. So there is quite a big social range within the university, and a big effort to make sure that every student who comes in from day one feels part of a kind of collective ambition of what sort of institution we're building at School of Arts and Sciences, regardless of what their family background, their language background, economic background, and so on. And in order to make that possible, we have need-blind admission. In other words, we look at a student, we decide, do we want to offer a place to this student? And if the answer is yes, then if they come from a reduced economic circumstance, we have financial aid programs which enable them to join us.
That's very nicely explained, sir. On that note, moving on to the next question. What do you see as Ahmedabad University's greatest strength? What is the strength of Ahmedabad University?
I would say the greatest strength of Ahmedabad University right now is the fact that we are almost unique in India in being a private non-profit university that has the liberal arts, a Center for Heritage Management, life sciences, management, and engineering. And in the future, we'll probably have a School of Public Health also. Having all of that within one university, with the capacity for students to take classes of an interdisciplinary kind, to take courses that means that they're taught by faculty from different schools, all of that is, I think, truly a unique creation. So the idea of being siloed or being separated is simply impossible, where on a daily basis, like earlier this morning, for example, in a university committee, I was interacting with the Dean of the Graduate Program, the Dean of the Management School, a senior colleague from the Engineering School. I think that the extent of that collaboration is what makes us really different.
That's very nice, sir. Moving down to the next question. What would you like people to know about Ahmedabad University they may not know yet?
I would like them to know that Ahmedabad University is very lucky in that we are backed by the Ahmedabad Education Society, which was founded in the 1930s as part of the freedom movement by people like Sada Patel or Shima Blanca, or people who were sort of instigating figures of the Indian independence movement, who believed 20 years or 15 years before independence that independence, if it meant anything, had to have high quality education. And so what we're benefiting from now, 80, 90 years later, is the legacy of the resources that they put into Ahmedabad Education Society. And one of the consequences of that is that our campus at Ahmedabad, which is about 200 acres, is in the middle of the city. So most of the time, if you start a new university, you have to find land, and it's maybe 1 or 2 hours away from a city, and then you think we will build a university. Whereas we are in this very unusual position of having this legacy that means our campus places us right in the middle of the city. And I think that that engagement with the larger community, with civil society, means that we're not only about taking students and professors and putting them on a separate campus, we're also about having an open campus where we have, for example, seminars and lectures that members of the public can attend. Obviously not at the moment because of coronavirus, where the campus or most of the campus is locked down. But we're very much an open campus where members of civil society can come and engage with the faculty and with visiting professors from outside.
That's very nice, sir. Moving on to the next question. So what do you think, what do you think should be the university top priority over the next 10 years? What is the plan and what is the vision for the university, right?
So my immediate plan is the consolidation of the School of Arts and Sciences. We're now 3 years in. We have about 40 or 50 professors, many of them trained at the world's best universities. We've launched the Bachelor of Arts, the Bachelor of Sciences program. We're going to be starting PhD programs very shortly in physics and in the humanities and social sciences. We've got new students coming in. So I felt that really for the first 3 years, we were more like a startup. We were having to do 101 things at once. We were having to get everything moving, recruiting faculty, developing programs, getting students, putting up this beautiful building, the 200,000 square foot School of Arts and Sciences building, which has been created by RMA architects. And now that we've done that high-speed startup, what we're really, really focused on now is consolidation. How do we secure the School of Arts and Sciences within Ahmedabad University? How do we make sure that as things grow and develop, they're all really, really well synchronized with each other? And also, how do we think, again from the start, about making sure that the quality of life that the students have, the day-to-day interactions that they have, the kind of academic support and life support that they get, means that they can be not only successful academic students, but also they can be fulfilled and well-functioning members of the broader society. So we do that in a variety of different ways. One of which is that when every student comes in, we give them a foundation program where you've got everybody all together, first-year students in engineering, in humanities, in management, in physics. They're all together, and they're learning about much bigger, broader social context, about civil society, about neighborhoods, about how we should live, about the use of natural resources. So that early integration is very important to us as something that we're trying to build in order to make sure that they're rounded, that they're well educated, and that they are happy.
That's very nicely explained, sir. On that note, moving down to the last question. Any suggestion would you like to give to the current youth and the aspirant student?
So my message to students is, which is a very hard message to take on if you're in your teens, because the nature of being in your teens is that you look to your immediate world. But the message that I would give is look a little bit further ahead. Look forward to yourself being in your 20s or in your 30s, and think about the kind of life, the kind of career, the kind of interests that you are likely to have, and how you can incorporate those into academic study. Because what I think is very disheartening is when somebody goes to university, maybe they get a good qualification, but then immediately they're thinking, I did not enjoy that subject. I thought it was the right subject, or I was pressured to take that subject. You have to really think about, what am I good at? What am I interested in? Where do I want to go with my learning and with my life and my career? So that the degree program that you take, the particular courses you take, are the ones that you are studying them because you love the subject, because you're really, really engaged, and it gives you an opportunity to interface with your own future. So I would say to the students who are thinking about what to study, where to study, I would say follow your heart.
On that note, sir, thank you for being a part on Collegedunia. It's a pleasure to have you on our platform.
Okay, thank you, and best of luck to Collegedunia.